Taking a trip to Arkansas last night before their game this Saturday against LSU and leaving Fayetteville with a 73-66 dub for their first win in Fayetteville since January 2015. The Rebs starting off slow, finding themselves down by as many as 9 in the first frame, but a 14-6 run to close the half helped them tie it all up at 33. A stellar second half, which saw the Rebs shoot over 52% from the floor and 45% from long range, carried them to the 7-point win in what will go down as a standout game for Malik Dia, who finished with a game-high 21 points and team-high 8 rebounds. Both Sean Padula and Dre Davis also scored in double digits as the Rebs moved to 2-0 to start SEC play.
Round 2 of an 18-round fight is the way we set it up for our team. SEC is good as advertised, so we played well tonight. It's so early in the league, just trying to stay poised and not get too high or too low. But I'm proud of the players tonight. Team effort.
We talk about the SEC just being a gauntlet this year. I think 6 teams in the top 10 in AP 25 teams right now are from the SEC. And to see Ole Miss get out to a 2-0 start, of course those teams haven't been that upper echelon of SEC teams. That's a great way to start, especially considering one on the road, one at home.
First time they're 2-0 in SEC play to start since 2019. You know what else happened in 2019 for the Ole Miss Rebels?
I'm going to go with a tournament.
They went to the NCAA tournament that year.
I thought it was going to be a Matt Corral stat.
No, it wasn't a Matt Corral stat. I didn't throw you the oop for that one. I'm sorry. I'm sure you got one over there. Yeah, they're going to take on LSU this weekend. I think this game was really indicative because we know how good of a coach Coach John Calipari is, right? We expected Arkansas to be a really good team, and they're 11-4 now to start the year. They're not having the best start to SEC play either because they took a pretty hard hit to Tennessee, but that Arkansas team is a good team, and I think for Coach Beard, he has to feel really good to get a win on the road. I was listening to the highlights of the broadcast as we kind of go back and look at some of these things, and they say whenever you win on the road in the SEC, it almost feels like it should count for 2, right? Count for 2 wins, and I think a lot of teams would agree with that because when you're trying to build this NCAA tournament resume that you need every single win you can get. And those ones on the road in terms of metrics and everything else are going to feel so much better and look so much better when it comes time for them to kind of look at the resume like, okay, what the Ole Miss Rebels did, win on the road at Arkansas. And we'll see how that pans out in the terms of the whole resume and how Arkansas's season finishes. But just a really great win for them. 17-7 run over the first 5 minutes of the second half kind of really what helped put this game away. I thought Malik Dia was great, obviously. He had 2 threes. Right? Finished with 21 points. He had those 2 threes. Those were kind of more towards the end. Everything else he was getting was in the paint. He was very aggressive, driving the ball. He forced Arkansas to worry about him, and I think it kind of opened up some other things for some other guys as well.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that has to do with the rebounding. We saw Ole Miss completely get destroyed by Memphis in regards to rebounding. I think it was out-rebounded by 11, and that's been a big emphasis for them moving forward in these first 2 SEC games. They've out-rebounded both these teams by just 1, but still, that's something, especially when it's against an SEC opponent, and it feels like a lot of that has gone to Malik Dia in both of the games against these last 2 teams. They've out-rebounded, and he's been the leading rebounder. I think he had 7 against Georgia, 8 against LSU. He already averages the most amongst the team in 5.7, but you can see he's above those averages in these last 2 games. It's clear that Chris Beard has kind of said to him, hey, I need you to step up this part of the thing. So that's been really impressive for him. I think the other part that I have been impressed with these last 2 games is you saw them go down to Memphis, and it was an ugly loss, right? That was a loss. You expected that game to be much closer than what it was. Great for Memphis, rough for Ole Miss. And to see them bounce back in every way that they have, they're holding shooting percentages, both of these teams, to under 40%. That's a really great stat. Georgia was like 29%, might I add, so that's like incredible.
And the 2 teams they played they shoot 50% or better.
Yes.
And you hold that team under 40%, that's really hard to do.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see both the rebounding and that shooting percentage tested again this weekend against LSU. LSU shoot over 48% right now. They're 37th in rebounding in the country. Ole Miss 249th in the country, which is a crazy difference. But I think it'll be interesting to see how Ole Miss kind of stack up against LSU. Their record's not great. They don't really have massive wins to their caliber. They're 0-2 in SEC play. It's at home for Ole Miss. This should be a game they win and keep boosting up the rankings, but there are a few areas that they've got to really watch out for.
Yeah, well, this is second year with Chris Beard. He's building a culture. That's why they call him Culture Chris, right? And I think that
Do they call him that?
I've seen it a lot on Twitter.
If not, Caleb's coining it right
Caleb's
here.
coining it.
Culture
Chris Beard, Culture
yeah.
Chris.
I wrote it down on my notepad in like November, and when the right time came out, I was going to call him Culture Chris, and I've seen it catch on Twitter. So I'm not saying
But it was your idea first, right?
Well, I don't know, but
He's got the media voice.
I tweeted it out, and then I've seen it in some memes and things, but I don't know. None of those people follow me, so. But I think that Malik Diaz is the embodiment of that. You know, someone that needs to really step up in an away game. Malik Diaz is crazy. Like he's mentally in the best way possible. Mentally, you were talking about when the fans started chirping him against Memphis, and then he went off. No one even said anything to him in Arkansas. He just caught a bad glance, and he was talking mad stuff for the rest of the game, and then had a couple turnovers and was taken out. But for a period there, I think he scored 4 straight points. One was a big putback dunk against Georgia. He scored nothing but big buckets last night. In the game against Georgia, when he made those 2 turnovers, Chris Beard was very animated in that game. Arkansas, he really didn't have to get that animated. But one of the guys he was most animated with was Malik Diaz. And usually when a coach is hardest on a player, it's because obviously, you know, the cliche, he believes in him a lot. So he's on the bench, on his knees in front of Diaz with his head in his hands, you know, really talking to him. Malik Diaz is soaking it all in. He's asking Malik to do a lot. You know, they don't have a center. Malik's going in there. These are hard rebounds to get. Jamin Brakefield, one of the other bigger guys on the team, is asked to get rebounds as well, but he's not really that guy. Dre Davis had 7 rebounds last night, but he's not really that guy either. So Chris Beard is kind of creating dogs out of, I don't want to say Yorkies, but because these guys have always been Bulldogs in their career, but they haven't been centers. I didn't say it.
Maybe Bulldogs to pit bulls. That's
Labradors,
guys,
I don't know.
Labradors are
My
too
point
nice.
is, these guys have always, guys like Dre Davis, guys like Malik Diaz, I'm sure have always been tough from the time they were 8 years old until now, but they haven't been
Chris Beard.
Musa Cisse. You know what I mean? It was, you know, he doesn't have what he had last year in Musa Cisse. So it's all part of the culture. Someone's name who we haven't mentioned yet is Matthew Morrell, who still has not hit his stride. He had 13, I believe, against Georgia, 9 last night. He's not shooting the ball as much as he did last year either. So, you know, you can't really fault him there. Juju Murray has not been shooting the ball well, but he had 6 assists last night. You saw a couple of them there in that game. And so it's just little things here and there is the reason why they're able to knock off John Calipari in Arkansas.
I really like what Juju's giving them off the bench, though. I mean, Sean Padula's come in and has become more of the scorer, and I think it's been okay for Matthew Morrell to not have to put up 17 a game because Sean's kind of been filling that space. Juju off the bench, I feel like has kind of fit in there really well, not because he's not scoring as much as we were kind of used to, especially last year. 6 assists, though, off the bench, 6 rebounds off the bench, and 2 steals. He's controlling the game in other ways, and I think that's going to be really important as they continue to go through SEC play. You had something to say? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was going to say, kind of off both of your points, is you're seeing not Matt Morrell or Juju Murray score these big points. It's because they don't need to. They've got like 6 guys that I look at on that roster that I'm like, I feel confident that any of those guys on any given night will go out and score double digits. And you saw it like last night, Malik Diaz. That's 10 points above his usual scoring. His most he's ever scored this season was 11. He went to 21 last night. He just had a performance, right? And I look at all 6 of those guys, whether it be Matt Morrell or Juju Murray or Sean Padula, whoever it is, Brakefield, all of them I feel like can go in there and put up a 20-point performance, and then the other guys, you'll get another 2 in double digits, and everyone else kind of around the 8 or 9. Like there's so many guys in that team that can score, and that's so big for Chris Beard. And I think that's going to be pivotal as they move forward and deeper into this SEC rotation.
I still believe they need a consistent scorer. If I'm a coach, I'm not liking that. You don't know who's going to get double digits. You're like just praying. Okay,
It's fun.
I feel like it's like Morant.
No, roulette.
Oh, roulette.
Roulette. Okay,
it's like it is
have
kind
an
of
accent,
roulette.
Caleb.
I don't want to
Come on.
play. I don't want to play roulette as a college basketball coach, in my opinion.
In conference play. Yeah.
In conference play, especially when you have teams like Alabama, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Missouri, and Texas after LSU on the slate. You know, you need someone like Matthew Morrell to explode. Sean Padula is great. He's been scoring the ball consistently. I would say he's been the most consistent player on the team this year. This is the second game this year that Juju Murray has come off the bench, which is completely different for him. And so I don't really know where that other scorer is besides Morrell. I think it's Malik Dia, but we haven't seen it consistently this year. This is a great start, but I still believe that they need a little bit more consistency. I agree that it's looked great this year with a lot of different players getting double digits, and they have a couple players averaging double digits. But, if you go out there and play the same way they did against Arkansas last night, which is pretty much dead even with them, you're going to lose to Alabama. You know what I mean? And maybe that's not the worst thing in the world, because it looks like they're going to start SEC play 3-0. You're playing an LSU team that's lost to Vanderbilt, lost to Missouri. They look like they don't know what the identity of their team is. They're playing LSU. They're playing Ole Miss at home. Ole Miss, I think it is important to note that Ole Miss is closed Friday. The campus is closed. And so will this game be played? We don't know. And so it'll be similar to what we were talking about with Memphis, is there's not going to be as many fans. I don't feel like that's as big of a factor it is for Memphis,
on-campus crew for Ole Miss.
Right, so it's just something to, pay attention to, watch your notifications over the next few days. We don't know if it's going to be played or not, but it looks like right now it will be.
All right, so the Rebels got LSU in Oxford, like Caleb said. That's 5 o'clock tomorrow, Saturday. We'll see what they're able to do this weekend.